Hello, welcome to the Connect 0007 experience. Here, we come to the podcast where human connection is everything. If you're trying to connect better with those around you, you're in the right spot. So please, sit back, relax, open your mind, and enjoy the experience. Hey, so how did you like that opening though? Something different, right? Something different. Wanted to add a little spice to the podcast. So for those of you who are completely new to the podcast, I just made an opening. So that's what that is about. But I am your host of this amazing podcast. My name is Thaddeus Sims. And today's episode is going to be our 49th episode, called A Destruction Story. But before I get into my usual fun facts, I have to give a huge shout out and a awesome thank you to my brother Brandon for making that song. He makes beats and stuff like that, and his music is awesome. They make you feel things. So literally I was telling him, hey, I want to create an opening. And he basically was like, oh, I got, perfect one. And he listens to the podcast and he's like, it's chill. And it's like, awesome. Fell in love with it and whatnot. So I try to put my little sexy voice in there. You know what I mean? So a little different for y'all. But thanks again, Brandon. You are awesome. So diving into our fun fact. This one was a bit interesting. And I always thought, I didn't really believe this one much. And I really just kind of thought people were just messing with me or just saying such as to say stuff. But apparently this is actually a whole thing. But fun fact is 7% of American adults believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. So if you didn't think that was crazy, let's take this a bit further. Now, 7% doesn't sound like a lot. But that actually works out at 16.4 million American adults. So now that really seems like a lot right now. I was just like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm going to leave that alone. So yeah, hopefully I didn't mess up someone's world or whatnot. I don't want you to go and be like, oh my gosh, I just found out that, I think it's Nesquik. I don't know. I just found out that it's not from brown cows, and Thad said this, and he just ruined my whole world, because I have had people who have told me things and it has completely shattered my way of life. And that's not a good feeling. So if I did that for you, I'm sorry. And you'll get through it. You'll get through it. So with that being said, let's get into this destruction story, right? Now, I want to come at it from this perspective, is that a lot of us love growth. We love development. We love creativity. We love, the happiness of it. We enjoy it. We feel good about it. Oh my gosh. Get your rocks off a little bit, right? When you're growing. But a lot of people really don't talk about destruction. And destruction is a really good thing. It actually serves you. So I want to give you a bit of my destruction story. And then you'll see. Because the thing is, I want to gear you guys up for when destruction is happening in your life. You'll know how to handle it. You'll have the right mindset. You'll have a gist of what to expect. You'll just be ahead of the game. You'll have your ish together while destruction is happening all around you and sometimes within you. That's a good time too. So let's get into this, right? Now, this all started with the meditation that I had recently. And a lot of things around me were being destroyed internally, externally. Externally, we're going to start with, we all heard that I'm not working. So, and I promise you guys, I get tired of talking about it, but apparently I got to give you guys an example instead of just saying it just out of the meditation, because you're going to be like, okay, what is he smoking? But, I'm just going to tell you. So in the meditation, it was revealed, hey, you had to leave your job. What had to be destroyed was your security, your comfort, and your limitations there. I was like, okay, in order for you to have the freedom that you want, your comfortability had to be destroyed. Your security had to be destroyed. And limitations. You can't have limitations when you're trying to be free. Understood. So the job had to go. I was like, wow, okay. Then I didn't, see that because I've always wanted freedom. But, I knew there were sacrifices, but I didn't know how big they were, i.e., that's one. Continuing up this in my meditation, more was revealed to me that, you and your emotions, you had a good control on them. You kind of put them on a leash, but now the leash has to be gone. No more control. So now your emotions are going to be fully out. And I'm just kind of like, no, like, brah, I can't do that. I'm not that guy. But I had to learn, well, it actually didn't really go that way. It kind of just happened. And I learned why it happened. And it was that reason, because my emotions needed to be free. And what happened was my emotions were, in a sense, guiding me to certain people. So, for example, over those few days of my emotions, the emotional parts of myself being destroyed, I was attracted to certain people. Not like, oh my gosh, I want to date you, but it was certain people that was in my mind that I had certain emotions towards. So, for an example, there is there's a guest speaker coming soon who was on my mind. And I was thinking about having this individual on the podcast, but I just didn't know what we would talk about. But I really wasn't too sure. But, they kept popping in my head. They kept orbiting. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling emotions toward this person. So I literally just said, hey, I text person like, hey, you've been on my mind. I don't know why, you know what I mean? Like, but hello. And boom. I was like, we figured we just came, we hit straight, like we went straight to it. The person was like, hey, yeah, let's talk. Like, let's talk on your podcast. I was like, that's what I was thinking. Like, but I wasn't really sure. So, we discovered a little bit more. That was one thing. Another person popped in my head and I kept feeling like I need to, like, I felt like this internal battle with myself with this individual. And I was like, okay, let me just text this person. Like, hey, I feel like I need to talk with you, but I don't know what. And they immediately were like, call me. I was like, okay. So I called. And we just, it was awesome. It helped so much. And there were like 3 other people and they helped me with some things that I'm building at the moment to make the podcast, more better. And my emotions were guiding me towards these people. Whereas before, when my emotions are in check, it's more of like, I'm more logical. I'm like, I'll hit this person up at this time. But no, my emotion was like, sorry, you guys know how I speak to myself. My emotions were like, no, bitch, you need to talk to them now. I was like, oh, okay. So did that and my emotions were serving me. And it wasn't the typical like, oh, you shouldn't let your emotions guide you, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like that because this whole time you're kind of taught like not to go with your emotions and whatnot, all the time, which that is true to an extent. I will say, I'm not going to say there's a specific line for when you should and when you shouldn't, but when you know yourself, I would say you really know who you are. You can, when to draw the line and when not to. So I'm gonna just leave it at that on that point. So my emotions for me to hold them down were being, was being destroyed. So that was interesting. Then we go further up to my will. So that's like, my willpower. That had to be destroyed because my willpower was more like keep things simple, profound, But no, my meditation was revealed. Yeah, no, that had to be destroyed. It has to be more focused on freedom. So it has to be more like crystallized, like in that. And I was just like, interesting. So like my whole willpower had to kind of go, which I would tell you in that whole process, guys, for my willpower to be destroyed, it was for a few days. I didn't feel like doing anything. I really did not have the will to do anything. Like I was in bed pretty much 2 days straight. And I'm not lying to you. I think I only went outside and that doesn't really count. I went out on my porch to let the dog outside and I went back inside. I did not go outside for nothing. I didn't have the willpower. And no, I wasn't depressed or anything, but it was just like, I'm not feeling it. I just felt like I really needed to rest, which was the indicator too, where it was just like, yeah, you just need to rest. You need to not do anything. So all of this was happening in meditation because I'm like, why am I not feeling this thing? Why am I not feeling to do something? So getting into that point with the whole willpower, because that kind of tags into there, I was just like, okay, it was coming to me that you need to stop everything you're doing, stop the podcast, stop, the projects you're working on and all of that, which all you're hearing this episode. So I didn't like stop, like we're not doing it anymore. But it was just like for these few days, I needed to do nothing towards it. I was like, okay, cool. And so my old willpower had to be destroyed for a new one, for freedom and whatnot. Then we move on to the heart. For me, my walls around my heart space needed to go down. And for those of you who know me, and if you haven't heard this, now you will. I always tell people who either are close with me or getting close with me, when we have those talks about like emotions, I always say not everybody deserves a seat at your table. And I still believe this to this day. That's still for me. If certain people, you will not get certain emotions from me. Like respectful, caring, like, you're a human being, you have the automatic love there, but deeper emotions and certain things, majority of people don't have that seat at my table. That's just me. You don't have to be that way, but that's just me. So in my meditation, it was like, yeah, your walls have to go down because your heart, so to speak, and it's going to sound very, Disney-ish, but hey, it was a meditation. My meditation was just like, yeah, your heart is connected. Wow, that sounds like Kingdom Hearts. Now it hit me. Dang. Go ahead. But Kingdom Hearts was real good. If y'all haven't played that game, it's probably what's wrong with some of y'all now. But anyways, it was telling me your heart is connected to a lot of people. So you need to let your walls down so you can receive what you need to from those people who you're connected with. And also, when it comes to love, you have to understand that you are going to love each and every person differently. You're not going to love people the same. It's for me. I'm not going to say for you guys, but for me, it's just like, that's not how that works. You can't love people the same. You're going to love them differently because each and every person is different. So you're going to love them differently. So you need to open that up more and let that be understood. You are going to love so many different people, because it was kind of like, there were people like I kind of struggled with. I've kind of like this internal, I'm actually, wow. Well, this is the podcast. I'm going to tell y'all what it is. I always tell on myself, got to be real, got to be authentic with you guys, because I don't like that fake stuff. So one of my struggles that I didn't really think was a thing was that I have friends and I love them, but I would think to myself, maybe I love this friend more than I love the other, and that was kind of bothering me. And I was like, no, I should love them all equally. And that little struggle was just like, yeah, no, like that's not working for you. And what I mean by loving people equally is that I think it's going to sound weird, but the equal part is that I do love everybody. So I feel like that's the equalizer. But there is differences in the sense of there's friends that I love them because I love just how they are. Some of them are just very outlandish and they're very funny. They're very who they are, and you're not going to tell them nothing about that. And I love them for that. They like pull on my heart with that. Then there are some friends who are kind of reserved, they to themselves, you know what I mean? They ain't really with all the outlandish stuff. They just like, bruh, I'm just trying to build what I'm trying to build and do my thing. And they're unique in a way. And so I love them differently than I would love that friend that's outlandish, And then there's some other friends or other people, we'll go with family, that I love the bond that we have, and it's different than other bonds that I have within my family. And that was kind of like a struggle for me because I'm like, I'm supposed to love everybody like equally. But it was just like, no, like you do because you love everybody, but you have to understand everybody is different. So you're going to love them differently. And I was like, so my heart had to be open. So I had to let those walls down around my heart space for me to really see that, to really get that. And also, again, I know that there are lots of people that I am connected to. And so I had to let my heart space, the walls down, so that I can receive the things that I need to. And to give you a bit of an example from that is there are some people that I'm connected to that I give them a lot of advice. So I always give, but I'm kind of like a bit on the, hold on, when it comes to receiving stuff from them. I'm more cautious. And it's not to say I'm not trusting, but it's me being so independent and me so giving that when I receive, it's just like, and I had to, again, let the walls down so that I can receive it in the best way that I need to. And it works out. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're connected to these people. Hey, they got to share some stuff with you. You know what I mean? You can't be the only one just sharing. You got to receive too. You know what I mean? So that had to be destroyed. This one was interesting. My voice was kind of acting a bit weird. And it didn't go away, but I just noticed, okay, something's a little bit weird. So, by the way, for some of you guys who are like, super spiritual, you're probably aware that I'm kind of going up the chakra system here. But for those of you who don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It's not really important. But going up to like the throat spot, one of the things was that in my meditation, it was coming to me that like part of my throat was being bothered. So I was like, okay, that's a little, weird. So parts of that had to be destroyed for me to see that, okay, the question that was revealed in that destruction that was trying to happen with my voice was, do you love your voice? And immediately I never had that question. So I just was like, and when I had the question, the first thought that came to mind is that sometimes I don't like to hear my voice being recorded, or I don't like how my voice sounds on recording. So I said no in my meditation, and it allowed me to be educated to see like the importance of my voice, i.e., the podcast. That's one thing, but not only that, but imagine for a second, guys, that if you didn't have your voice, like you couldn't use your voice at all, your life is going to be dramatically different. Like from communicating to trying to get something across, you use your voice for a lot of things. I mean, even like your phone, different things like that, even just how we connect, your voice plays an important role. So no matter how it sounds, be appreciative and love it. And I was just like, wow. And so it was just more of an attention to how my voice is. And then not only that, but I've had people tell me how my voice makes them feel like, some people say, your voice is pretty calming or it's funny and different things like that. And it's like, oh, wow, I didn't really think of that. And then it put me in a space to love my voice. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I'm glad this was happening to my voice because I wasn't really, I would have never had that question. I would have never been aware. So now we're moving up to the third eye spot, the way I see things, my visions. All of y'all know. If you don't, now you do. But I do get visions. I see certain things. Certain things just come to me, especially when it comes to connecting with people. Certain things, will just reveal themselves, things like that. So if you don't know what that means, I will give you a simple example. There is a lady at my old job where I used to work, and she would come in and I would just see a bunch of code around her. Like the computer code. Think of like the Matrix with all those codes. And when people are trying to build a website, all that coding. So I would see a bunch of code around her. And then I would kind of hear like a bunch of like electricity or electronics around her. I know that sounds weird. You guys would think I'm on crack or something or smoke. Have not smoked at all. Perfectly myself. And I was just like, okay, so I was serving her and I just had to ask her. I'm like, hey, totally random, but do you do a lot of computer work? And she was just like, yeah. She was like, I do. She's like, I'm always on the computer. She was like, I need to stop. I need to take a break, but I'm always on it. She said it'll bother my eyes and things like that. I need to exercise more. She was like, but I'm always on the computer. I'm like, interesting. So that is why I kept seeing all those codes around you. Interesting. Right? Okay. So now you're up to snuff with what I'm talking about. So this one was particularly interesting because in this whole part of me being, in this whole destruction thing, messages was coming to me. And in the message, it was basically saying that, hey, your spirit is in danger. You might want to check on that. Now, for you guys who obviously have been listening to the podcast, you know that I'm a very extreme person. So I have to get extreme messages that get my attention, because if someone was like, oh, yeah, hey, you might want to look into your spirit. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll look into that. But when you determine my spirit's in danger, it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty out there. I probably should check on that. But I know full and well, let me just say this, guys. I know full and well I'm not in danger ever. So there's that. It was just the message had to come across that way. It had to be communicated that way to me. Like, all of my friends know you have to communicate a certain way to me for me to get a response out of me. So if you were to say, hey, Thad, you might want to go on that boat. It looks pretty fun. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right, sure, whatever. But but if you really want me to go on the boat, hey, Thad, you might want to get on the boat because I think Will Smith was on there and they was like, trying to get some people to talk to. Bitch, I would be on that boat so fast because I love Will Smith. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to say certain things for me. So that was one of the things with the messages. So, in doing that, one of the things I had to do was I had to get connected with my spirit and my meditation. My spirit we just had a nice big little talk just about, how my spirit is, just how things are about me, things are, happening around me and whatnot. And just really, just having a good big conversation with my spirit and stuff like that. And so my spirit was just letting me know, like, hey, you're in this process of being destroyed right now, but this is serving you. You need to see this. So I was like, so, did that. And then that's when we focus on the destruction part, which all of that was all destruction, but the main part was being aware of it. So in my meditation, it was just showing me what I'm telling you guys, like all of this had to be destroyed. This had to be destroyed. This is why. And so with all of that, facing that whole destruction part, I was seeing how everything was serving me from outside of my life to internally, things like that, things I needed to be aware of, things I had to be appreciative of. And I say all of that to tell you this is that when I was talking with this, the destruction, and seeing what it was for me, I learned, I kind of always knew this, but it was just more apparent, I guess. I learned that destruction, for you guys, if you don't know, destruction is really transformation. And a lot of us, we dabble with the destruction a bit, but we don't really call it what it is, in the sense of a lot of us may want certain things, but some of those things require sacrifice or requires you get rid of a certain part of yourself. And those are really that goes in the field of destruction. So you may want, let's just say, a better job, right? A better opportunity. That may require you to sacrifice some time. That may require you to educate yourself on different things. Now, you may say, well, how does that have to do with destruction? Okay, sacrifice the time. That means you're going to have to destroy your time with certain things, be it hanging out with people, be it watching your favorite show on Netflix, be it other activities that you do that's a waste of your time. You're going to have to destroy those things, like destroy those time wasters for, you to put that extra time in something else. Well, then you may say, well, Thad, how is education destruction? Well, when you educate yourself, you're really destroying the ignorance that you had previously to whatever it is you're being educated. So destruction is very well needed. It's pretty much what you're asking for when you want to create these things. You can't have one without the other. So be aware that when you're like, hey, I want this, keeping it really simple. Hey, I want this new opportunity. I want to be able to do this. You're asking pretty much, okay, hey, I want certain what X, Y, and Z to be destroyed so I can have this. You're asking that same question. And so when you are asking for some things, guys, And you have, again, I think a lot of us have this inkling of it, but when you're asking for certain things, um, certain things have to be required from you. Certain things have to be destroyed. Hell, a lot of things for some people may have to be destroyed. Their thought process, their mindsets, the way they handle their emotions, the way they react. They may need to change the people they're around. Their whole world may need to be destroyed. And that's just outside stuff. Internally, you may have internal battles with yourself, internal fights with yourself, things that you've been suppressing, all those things that are trying to destroy everything about you. And understand that it's a beautiful thing. It's transformation. It's necessary. You need to have it. It's really serving you. So the point is, destruction serves you, and destruction is your friend. And destruction is part of the creation. It's the transformation that we all are asking for. A lot of us want change, but we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to be destroyed in the process? Because once we become destroyed, or i.e. once we transform, then we get the things that we want. So in a sense, guys, that is really my destruction story. And I wanted to gear you guys up for that, like for destruction itself. So you can be ahead of the game. So you are, aware of it when it happens to you. I will tell you this, a hint is certain things that are being destroyed. So an example would be like if there's something to do with emotional stuff, right? If things are happening where a lot of things emotionally are causing destruction, that means a lot of good things are coming from that. So it's like, there's the opposite end of the spectrum. So let's just say that, again, your finances were being destroyed, right? That's setting you up for better finances to come. You have to learn the errors that's happening. You have to see what the hell it is that's destroying your finances. And once you get that fixed, they change, they rise. So that is the hint there. When something is being destroyed, know that, okay, something about this is getting better. And just go through it. And I will tell you this because I'm going to be very real with you guys. I want to make sure you're geared up and you're prepared for this, is that don't resist it. Don't resist the destruction, because when you do, it just makes things so much worse. And not only that, if you really look at it in a way that'll probably make you laugh, is let's just say we all have our mother or our father, whichever one you like the most. And they were to say, hey, you were to go up to him and like, hey, yeah, I want this toy. And they were to say, okay, well, if you want this toy, all you need to do is pick up your shirt off the floor and put it in the basket, and I'll give you the toy. You resisting is saying, but Mom, I really want the toy, but I don't want to pick up the shirt. But you really want the toy. Okay, if you get the toy, you just need to put up the shirt. But I don't want to put up the shirt. And then you complain. Then you go through all the stuff of like not wanting to do it. Then you make it worse by saying, man, fuck that toy. I don't want to deal with it. And so now you get pissed off. And then you're doing other stuff where you're putting more clothes on the floor. And it's just like, bruh, if you would just like put the shirt in the little box over there, you would get the toy. Versus you having these temper tantrums, you having these reactions, you getting mad, you being irritated, you causing it to be worse than what it is. And then you feeling some type of way because you feel like, bruh, like I shouldn't have to wait. You should just give me the toy. Like, no, just they're telling you, put that up and you will get the toy. And then you may come to find if you were to put the shirt up and you were to put it in a little box, you would have seen that you had more toys and they were just hiding them for you to see them. And you were going to get that toy and then some. And it's just like, if you would have did that in the first place, this would have been so much easier. You would have been so much happier. You would have saved so much time. So that's like in a sense of don't resisting it. I know it was a very weird like explanation, but you get what I mean. Don't resist. Go straight into it. It is going to be hard sometimes where you're just like, man, I don't know what's going on. It's okay. And that the whole destruction, you're gaining the things you need. You may not feel like you're strong enough. You're going to call a friend. You may feel like, I don't think I could do this. You're going to have different thoughts about it. You're going to battle yourself. That's all part of it. And as you're battling yourself, you're just getting stronger mentally, emotionally, all of that. And it's going to help you. So with that being said, destruction is your friend. destruction serves you. Destruction is part of transformation and part of growth. That all those things you're asking yourself for, just be prepared to destroy a lot of things, with that. So an exercise that I will leave you with really is pick one thing that needs to be destroyed in your life, be it, again, is there certain things you're wasting your time with so you can get more time? Be it, there are certain things about your emotions that may need to be destroyed so you can get better emotional things. Like, you are the creator and you are the destroyer. So, the power is pretty much like in your hands. So when you have that mindset, like, oh yeah, I just need to destroy this to get this, boom. You know what I mean? Or I want to create this. That means I need to have this destroyed. Boom. You'll get it. You own it. So with that being said, guys, that is it for this podcast. You guys are amazing. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. And I actually look forward to talking with you guys Friday. And I will see you soon. Later. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please leave a 5-star rating and share with a friend near you. Remember, the world's a better place because you exist. Know your worth and know thyself.